I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you regarding genealogy and family history research. My name is Jerry Juhnke. A couple of years ago, I organized a group of genealogists to research Swiss Valenian Mennonite genealogy. This project became known as the G&H Project, or the Swiss Valenian Mennonite Genealogy and Historical Project. The goal of the G&H Project is to preserve and make available genealogical and historical information relevant to anyone with Swiss Valenian Mennonite ancestry. Historical information for an individual might include photos, newspaper articles, funeral programs, awards, draft registration cards, marriage invitations, obituaries, audio recordings, video recordings, or any information that would help to create a historical summary of that individual's life. The historical information might also include related information about churches, cities, events, organizations, schools, travel, or other items. But this seminar today is not just for those with Swiss Valenian Mennonite background. It is for anyone who desires to do genealogy research. Before I begin, I thought that you might be interested in an incident that happened to my youngest son, Gabe. Often goes to other locations around the country to create videos for his clients. Whenever he uses a video that he shoots, he needs to get permission from the individuals in the video to use their image. While he was in Oklahoma City recently, he took some background video that he intended to use. He approached one of the individuals that was in the background to get his permission to use his image. And this is how it went. "Hey," Gabe said, "I'd like your permission to use your image in a video." "Sure," the individual said. So Gabe asked him, "What is your name?" "Robert," the individual said. Gabe said, "I need to fill out this permission slip for my records. Can I also get your last name?" "Sure," Robert said, "it's German." To which my son replied, "My name is German too." "Oh, really?" said Robert. "Maybe we're related." "I don't know," Gabe said politely. "There are lots of Germans living in the United States." Robert then tried to explain to Gabe that his last name actually was German and not something else. After they got that straightened out, the conversation continued. "What is your birth date, Robert?" Gabe asked. "Well, I just had a birth date a couple of days ago," and Robert gave the date. "That's interesting," Gabe said. "I had a birthday a couple of days ago too. What year were you born?" Robert answered, "In 1980. Gabe said, "Well, I was born in 1982. "Oh, really?" said Robert. "Then we're almost exactly the same age." "No," said Gabe, "I was born in 1982. Well, they finally got that one straightened out. I won't tell you about the one-armed guard at the front of the bank. The one-armed guard at the front of the bank. If you didn't get that one, that's okay. It'll come to you. My background, I am a son of Marvin and May Juhnke and a brother to Tom Juhnke. I grew up in Elyria and attended the Eden Mennonite Church when I was young. 7 of my 8 great-grandparents were Swiss Valenian Mennonite immigrants. The one exception is my Juhnke great-grandfather, but he married a Swiss Valenian Mennonite immigrant about 2 years after she arrived in the United States. Most of their descendants became Mennonites. My great-grandfather Juhnke's background remained somewhat of a mystery until about 4 years ago. He told us very little about his background other than he was a deserter from the Prussian army, and he was concerned that his life would be in danger if he was discovered. He may have similar ancestors. Thanks to various genealogy resources, we discovered where in Prussia his family lived, who his parents were, information about his sister, and information about some of his friends that also came to the United States. He gave us none of this information except told us who his sister was. What do you hope to accomplish by doing genealogy research? Do you have all the family tree information that you desire? Are you wanting to put together a genealogy research book or chart? Are you interested in learning more about your family history? How many of you would say you're beginners genealogy? Okay. Well, if you're a beginner, don't overlook the research that others have done before you. Often you can start with a significant amount of information that someone who went before you has accumulated. What software are you using? Does anyone here consider themselves an experienced genealogist but is not using genealogy software? Genealogy software will make organization and research much easier. Choosing a software to use that suits your needs and desires is perhaps the first step in doing any significant genealogy research. Several resources are available on the internet that can help you select appropriate software. Many YouTube videos will compare various genealogy software. Some genealogy programs require payment, and some you can download for free. No one genealogy software is best and easiest at everything. For the G&H project, we use a combination of Family Tree Maker and Ancestry software. These two programs are the most popular in the United States and probably the oldest too. Family Tree Maker and Ancestry will synchronize with one another so that you can create trees on both software, or you can move it from one software to the other, and information can easily be copied to other programs. We will look at both of these programs in a moment and see how they work together. Family Tree Maker is organizational software. On the computer screen, you can see a wide variety of on one computer screen, you can see a wide variety of information and easily add, edit, or delete the information. You can easily store and locate pictures, audio files, video files, and so on, and hundreds of bits of information. Family Tree Maker can create family trees, maps, and reports of the information that you have entered. Family Tree Maker, however, will not do any research. Unless you have genealogy research software such as Ancestry, which is the other program we use, you must do your own research and then enter the information into the tree. On the other hand, while you're busy sleeping or out watching the eclipse, if you have genealogy research software such as Ancestry, the software is doing research for you. Ancestry will research literally billions and billions of records to find information on the individuals that you have entered into your tree. Then when you open Family Tree Maker software, you'll find that Ancestry refers to this information as hints. They'll be provided on almost every individual in your tree. What are hints? We'll take a look in just a moment. On Ancestry, it's the location of information that Ancestry believes relates to one of the individuals in your tree. Often there are dozens or more hints for each individual. Ancestry software has combed the internet for this information. They look at census records, birth records, marriage records, newspaper obituaries, military obituaries, immigration records, newspaper articles, wills, land transactions, pictures, and the appearance of your family members in other online family trees. Now you can do this information, you can research this information on your own, but it is much easier. If you find something that you want to add to your family tree with just one click, you can download the information into your tree. There's no need to scan, photocopy, or download files other than just clicking once on Ancestry. The information will be downloaded to the proper spot in your tree, and the resources of the information will also be noted, and the source of the information will also be noted. If later you want to revisit the same information, like a census record, often the URL will be provided in the source record that's on Ancestry, or that you can download the Family Tree Maker. Normally, you can just click on the URL and revisit the original record. You could do this research by going through books at your public library or by making phone calls to distant relatives, as most of the longer term genealogists here have done. Or you could let Ancestry or other research software do this for you in a few seconds. Now, I'm not trying to say don't visit the library or call family members. There are still billions and billions of records that are not on the internet. And sometimes resources that you would normally pay a fee to receive or use are available free at the library. But research software such as Ancestry will make your research much easier and lead you to some hints that you might never have known existed. And this was true with my great-grandfather, Juhnke. We thought we had found his parents, but we were not sure. What we didn't know about was an Illinois marriage record. He got married for the second time in the state of Illinois. And the one who made the record there asked him who his parents were. That's the only time we've ever known that he listed his parents, and he actually didn't list the full name. He just listed the first name of his father, which we assumed would have been Juhnke, and the last name of his mother, and that was it. But it matched the information that we had, so we knew we had it. Ancestry software so there are two types of software that we use. We use the Family Tree Maker software for organization of information, and Ancestry to do much of the research. Now you can use just Family Tree Maker or Ancestry if you want to. You don't have to get both of them. But they do work together, and the tree that you make in one or information that you enter in one will transfer to the other. Transfer from Ancestry to Family Tree Maker or back and forth. I also am aware that Ancestry works with legacy software. If you're using legacy, that's another one. And somebody else may know if it works with other software. But Family Tree Maker will transfer most every bit of information, which legacy won't transfer quite as much. Another thing about Ancestry that we consider is very important, it will allow us to use multiple users located anywhere in the world to work on the same online family tree, which is one of the many reasons that we are using this combination of software. Many of your relatives may also, or you possibly may have completed a DNA test from Ancestry. My DNA test has been very helpful in locating other genealogists that are searching Swiss Valenian Mennonites, and I have located just a few individuals overseas that share my same DNA. Family Tree Maker is available at a one-time cost of $80. Ancestry is a subscription service which will cost from roughly $250 per year to $600 per year, depending upon the research resources that you use and how you pay for the service. Free trials are available from both programs. And I'm not here necessarily to promote Family Tree Maker or Ancestry. I understand that cost is always a factor. The good news is that it is possible to lower the Ancestry cost significantly down to possibly about $10 per month, with something that is new as of the last couple of months. The new plan is called a family membership plan. The family membership plan allows up to 5 individuals to share one plan and also share the cost. Everyone participating in the family plan gets Ancestry's most powerful research capabilities, which is called the All Access Plan. It is everything that Ancestry has is about 55 billion different facts on individuals. That's a lot, and you get that plan with the family plan membership. Any family plan member can work on both a common family tree or their own tree or trees if they want, just as though you owned Ancestry outright. The information for each individual can remain private, and each individual can access information from their personal computer, just as though you owned it outright. One of the benefits of becoming a G&H project genealogist is that you can join an existing family plan group and start using Ancestry. I would recommend this for anyone who is here if you would like to use Ancestry. Even if you don't have Swiss Valenian Mennonite ancestors, you can simply join the group and get the discount. With the family plan, you can still create your own family tree. You can do your own research on your own computer. You don't need to be Swiss Valenian Mennonite. All the information, included in the tree, can remain private. We would love to have you join our group because it also reduces the cost for everyone else. And you get the very best research capabilities that Ancestry has. You don't necessarily have to purchase Family Tree Maker in addition. You can just have Ancestry if you want to do that. Ancestry research includes the ability to view and download information from other genealogists that are researching the same ancestors as you may be, and you can share information. Please give some consideration to joining our group, even if it is just to reduce your cost of the Ancestry. You're welcome to send me an email if you have questions or wish to join the group. My email address is on the cover of the handout, and just send me an email. Now, let's go to the screen up here and look how Family Tree Maker software and Ancestry integrate with one another.
Yeah, go ahead and click shares.
And any questions, on anything that I've mentioned to this point, I can take something while,
Yeah, I have a question.
yes.
If you're a member of Ancestry already,
Mhm.
and it's a 1 year subscription, what will it do when you join then for the $10?
Well, unfortunately, they won't give a refund on there, on your 1 year. You have to switch essentially at the end of the 1 year.
Okay.
And when you switch, all of the information that you have on Ancestry will still remain on Ancestry. There may be a 3 or 4 or 5 or a week or 2 week period before you get back on the family plan, join once again. But all your information will be there once again, including your DNA information. It'll be just as though you rejoined the plan.
So I email you at that time?
Or you can email me ahead of time. I'll put you on my calendar and I'll get in touch with you a little bit ahead of time.
In December.
It's in December, yeah. Well, unfortunately, that some of the genealogists that I have are also in December.
Okay,
But I can get in touch with you a little bit ahead of time. One of the things that you might do, if you have it on an automatic payment, is to quit paying.
no, I don't.
Okay, well, then when you come around, we can have you join the group. And probably right off the bat, even if there's 2 people in the group, it's probably gonna be less than you're paying right now. So even if there's 2 or 3, it'll be less. If you think of it as $50 on a monthly basis, which is the cost, if there's 1 person, it's split in half for 2 people, which is $25. It's split in 3 parts if there's 3 people, which is about $17.50. Split into 4 parts if there's 4 people, so that's about $12.50, 13. And then if there's 5 people, it's split 5 ways, which is $10. So it really lowers the cost if you have a group. And sometimes, if you're doing it on an individual basis, it's kind of hard to put together a group of 5 people. So you're welcome to join us. Let's look at Family Tree Maker just a little bit. This is the screen that I see when I open Family Tree Maker and I open the G&H project information. You can see in the upper left-hand corner there's about 40,000 individuals that we have so far in this family tree. The screen is in 3 different parts, and you can resize the screen. This is an index over here. You can make it smaller or larger. And on the other side is information about the individual that you're researching. Now, this one just happens to be Albert Arthur Gary. So is there anyone here who is a close relation of Albert? Okay. That could be possible. He did live in McPherson County, was born in Mound Ridge. And in the middle is a tree for him. Family Tree Maker has all of this information on the main screen here. So it's very easy to see. And at the bottom here are the people that you're researching. Or in this case, Albert's wife is named Jane. Hopefully you can see my cursor there. Jane Crable, and these are his children here. Now, we can also move this up or down in the screen, depending upon whether we want to see more people or less people. So let me put it back up here. This is through great grandparents over here. We're just missing apparently 2 of his great grandparents. So, and Albert was born in 1901. The hints are here with a leaf next to them. Now I will click on Albert's and maybe somebody else's leaf pretty soon, and we'll go follow them. If I get off of this page, sometimes it takes a little while to repopulate the hints. So I'm going to stay right here with this index so we don't lose the hints that are here. But if you can see, there are hints for virtually everyone in his tree. Not quite. Guess we've got 3 here in the great-grandparent area and 1 here in the this is great-grandparents. These are grandparents of Arthur. So this is the information. You have it all in front of you, and I can switch to one of these. I could switch to Christian by clicking over here. I could switch to Maria by over here, just clicking, or one of the great-grandparents makes it much easier. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, you can see tree. The other page for the individual is right here, which is the person information. Some people have person notes. Albert doesn't happen to have any. Some people have media. Albert doesn't happen to have any. Or web links, or tasks, things that I want to do with Albert. This is where I can see research notes. I don't have any research notes for him either. But so that's each individual has this information. It's on 2 different screens. At the top here, we have 6 different areas where we could visit. We can choose a different plan. I can flip over here. We could get a new tree out of this, or we could stay with the current tree. And the people are over here. This is the screen that I showed you earlier. Places, media, sources, publish, and web research. It's the web search screen and the people screen where I spend most of my time. And actually, you're seeing some of the hints here for Albert, and I'll come back to this in a little bit. But you can make family trees by clicking in the publish area. Wherever you got information is in the source area. Pictures are stored here. Places for virtually any event can be stored here, or can be, actually, you don't even need to go to that. And then your people page. The right-hand side can be customized. And that's almost hid here. But you can put whatever information you want on the right-hand side. I choose to start with his name, the sex of the individual. It'll give you the age at death, which was 89. AKA is other names that he might have used. If it were Albert, it might be Al, or he might have gone by Art. Either one. Birth date is here, the location of his birth date and his description of the birth date. Baptism I have for a number of individuals, the date they were baptized, the place and description, the death, the burial. I'm researching a lot of immigrants, so the date that they immigrated, the place and the description is here. Their occupation, the only thing we have is he was in business. Phone number, address, if they're living, is real nice to have here. And then I have the marriage information. He married Jane Crable on June the 4th of 1925. And you can see 2 children here. Probably neither are living, but I haven't done a lot of research on Albert. In fact, I can't do all 40,000. That's why we have an organization to begin with. There are 12 people now that are, attending our Zoom meetings and serious, genealogists. So, they're the other ones that are doing research, and I have a couple of Garings that are in there, and I also have a Cradle. But that is the page that Family Tree Maker opens up to. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the information that's in finding your ancestors. If you'll open that now.
I will mention that those of you online, we mentioned there's a PDF and I'll post it and we can email out the PDF so that those of you online can look at this pamphlet later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. If you open the first page there, there's data entry guidelines. These are the guidelines that we use. They're generally good for most any genealogist. The first one that's listed there is list your sources. Where did you get that information? It should be stored someplace, and your genealogy software, almost all genealogy software, will store the sources of the information. Ancestry does it automatically. If you download something from Ancestry, it goes right, the source of it goes right into the source place on Family Tree Maker or on Ancestry, so you know where you got the information. You don't have to enter a source separately. Person notes and research notes go in different areas in Family Tree Maker, and they may very well in virtually any software that you use. If you enter a name, I can find family trees online that certainly don't subscribe to this, but the individual should be entered as the full name at birth. Not by the married name. Don't include the married name in the name at birth. The married name, if you're searching for individuals in Ancestry, they'll search under the married name when they had somebody that they were married to. So it's not necessary to enter the married name. And you have both individuals right here at the bottom here. You can see who they married. And if they married more than one person, it'll be listed over here. 2 or 3 people are not unusual for either or, particularly get back in history. People died earlier.
I guess it'll indicate whether or not they changed their surname when they got married.
Well, that's almost always the case, for females.
Like back then it was.
Yeah. If it's now, they'll be listed as the name at birth, and you can put a note in the research note, and also in the AKA area, you can put a name also known as, and if they had
a note that they didn't change their name.
didn't change their name, yes, or if they changed it, they went by a different name once they were married and not the husbands.
Yeah.
Sometimes people combine names. Mexican ancestry is often that way. Don't capitalize. Only the first letter of the first, middle, and last name should be capitalized, not the whole last name. Nothing should be in quotation marks. I've seen that also, like this person was also known as this. Well, don't put it there, put it in the AKA area. That's where the nicknames, the next one. The nicknames belong in the AKA area, or they were primarily known as this. When there's research done, Ancestry will look under the nicknames also to find them. Near the bottom, it says do not use a dot after an initial. This is something that's quite common now, and started with computers. The dot meant something in some computer programs, and you can always indicate if the name didn't, if they only had a middle initial and they didn't have a name to go with that, you can always indicate that in the research notes. Or occasionally, I found individuals that had an initial for the first name and the middle name sometimes. This was common in the South a number of years ago. So, but don't put a dot after it. The name of an individual's church should be listed as a church fact, not as a religious fact. If they went to Eden Mennonite Church, Eden Mennonite is not a religion, although some people probably think it is. The religion might include Christian, Islam, Jew, Buddhist, or so on. But the church should be listed in the church. And you can say they're a Protestant Christian also, as far as the religion goes, or Catholic, or Orthodox. Don't abbreviate anything, write it out. If an event happened in a county, such as McPherson County, and outside of the city limits, do not attach a city to it, like Mount Ridge. It confuses things. Listen, I like, there, towards the bottom of the page, you can see how I like to have information entered. If it's Elyria in McPherson County, Kansas, USA can be abbreviated. That portion can be abbreviated, but I would always put county after the county name. And if you list a township, put township after the township name. Sometimes it is King City Township, McPherson County, Kansas. That's okay too, and a better way to list it. If you didn't list the county after the name and you put McPherson down, people might think it was in the city of McPherson that event happened. And if it happened out in the county, then just list the county. You can also list the number of miles in the description area. There's a place for description up there for birth, death, almost anything you can put a description in and say it happened 4 miles east and 2 miles north. That's from such and such a place. Make certain of what facts are and what family history is or opinions. Sometimes information has been passed down through the family lines, and we can't find it to verify it any place. And that happened quite a bit with my family. So your sources should indicate if it is a fact, or if your Aunt Grace or Aunt Ethel said it to you, put it down as opinion, that's where it came from. Or just say, this is family understanding. It's been listed in our records for years. Put something like that down, so that you don't say, well, it's definitely a fact. And I can attest to both my family and my wife's family too. A lot of the things that they said were facts turned out not to be quite that way. So just make sure you've got it correct. If a child is a twin or adopted, put that in the description area at birth, put it in the description. Or a triplet or one of a quadruplet. Otherwise, when you search back in history, you may find that, oh, I've got 2 birth dates for this individual. One of them must be wrong. Well, one of them might have belonged to a twin brother that was actually born. Or I have two different names for this individual. Maybe they went by both names and I don't have a birth date for the other individual. Note the twin in the description area. Or adopted is good information also.
Thank you.
My son died. Also, for my ancestors, and I would bet it's true for yours also. Sometimes there were two individuals in a family that had the same name. This will often occur among my ancestors and many of those up there. Where, let's say they named somebody David Gearing as an example. And the child passed away in the first year or first month. The next child that's a son will probably be named David Gearing also. This happens quite often. So don't assume that if you've got two birth dates for a David Gearing that they're the same person and one of those birth dates must be wrong. Very likely there was another son born at some time and the son didn't make it, so they named the second son the same thing, the next son after that. Now I've talked a bit about places. If you turn over one more page, on the right-hand side, there's one thing that I also want to emphasize. Just because it's written on a tombstone or in a marriage document or on a draft card someplace, don't assume that it is always correct. Errors do occur. And I'd say with tombstones, it often happens that, oh, when was Grandpa Graber born? And they put the wrong year down. He actually wasn't born that year. It happens quite often. And oftentimes I can find at least a couple, one error someplace that's a factual, it was listed as a fact that this or that occurred. And we have other times, or we have other information that says, no, that wasn't right, and it's just as strong as the original was. So be careful of that. Don't automatically assume that, well, one of them's got to be an error in case of a birth or a death, but don't automatically assume that you have the correct one. Turn one more page, ancestor search website. One thing I want to mention here, these are places where you can get other information on ancestors. And a number of them are free, or you can buy a separate subscription for them. Grandma Online is free. MyHeritage costs. Some of the others cost. If you turn over one more page, there's threefold, or fold three, actually, which is military records. And on the page opposite is newspapers.com. Both of those are very valuable places to be. And if you do the family membership with Ancestry, they're both free. If you pay for newspapers.com separately, it's a bit over $100 per year. I'm not sure where it is right now. And Fold 3, I believe, is also a bit over $100 a year.
Fold 3, I believe you can, the State Library of Kansas, if you get an e-card through them, you can get into Fold 3 that way.
Okay.
So that would be an option.
Newspapers.
And then newspapers.com also has certain newspapers You do have to pay them, but newspapers.com, you can get a lot of the Kansas papers through the State Historical Society.
It's 120 a year.
120, okay,
Something's changing Friday about that.
Oh, is that right?
Library party. Whatever.
yeah.
Oh.
There are changes every now and then, and it is hard for me to keep up. Even Family Tree Maker has changed a little bit. They just did an update. And Ancestry, this is new with Ancestry. So things do change, but not all the newspapers are in newspapers.com either. Even if you have access to everything, sometimes you go to small town newspapers and you can find what you're looking for there. And the Freeman paper, which is the other group of Swiss Valenian Mennonites, their Freeman Courier is in small town newspapers. That's where I find that information. There's also German newspapers, other places you can go for newspapers. You can go to libraries too, check out and see what they have. Grandma Online, if you do have Mennonite background, Grandma Online is trying to make the world's hugest tree, I think, with Mennonites in it. And it has lots of good information in it. And might have lots on your ancestors, so you might check that out too. Is there anybody else who has a favorite site that they use in particular? Maybe one that's not listed here, or even if it is listed here? Any favorites? There's one other place, if you do have Swiss Valenian Mennonite background, and I'm saying this not because that's almost all of my background, but a lot of people do. Have someone who's married in to Swiss Valenian Mennonites. Don't overlook their Swiss Mennonite Cultural and Historical Association. That also has lots of information on Swiss Valenian Mennonites. And I'm going to show you a little bit of information on hints. Well, first of all, if you join the G&H project group and you want to search Swiss Valenian Mennonites, this talks about lesson plans. I put together some lesson plans for G&H project participants. And it tells you how to do various things in Family Tree Maker software and also Ancestry. Both Ancestry and Family Tree Maker and a fair number of other genealogy programs have tutorials that you can go through. Ancestry has 15 at the last count, but they cover virtually everything in Ancestry that you would want to do. There's also a book that you can order for about $45. It'll tell you how to, in detail, how to do that. It is about $45 to order that book. Ancestry also has many different tutorials that you can use depending upon what you're wanting to do in Ancestry. Sometimes I will go to Ancestry just to do research and I'll avoid Family Tree Maker. Sometimes the information like DNA doesn't have anything to do with Family Tree Maker. So I can go to the DNA section in Ancestry, or I can go to hints and other things in Ancestry and maybe just work in Ancestry. Then I can sync the two programs. So the information that I had in Ancestry will now go to Family Tree Maker, and the information that I had in Family Tree Maker will now go to Ancestry, and both of the family trees will look the same. So the G&H project, a lot of them work just in Ancestry. That's okay. Some of them work in Family Tree Maker. And the information they put in Family Tree Maker, unfortunately, I'm the only one that can load Family Tree Maker into Ancestry, but they can send me their file. I can load I can merge the two family tree maker files, and then I can load the information into Ancestry once again. So they do work well together. There's one or two of them that have the legacy program also. And a popular one around here is Brothers Keeper, which is good software also. I don't have anything against Brothers Keeper. That's another one that's kind of good. You don't have to use you don't have to use research software either. But I'll show you that it makes it very easy if you use the computer resources. Many people use Brothers Keeper for years and just entered the information manually. That included pictures, birth dates, death dates, everything. Well, no, I shouldn't say everything. Many people who used Brothers Keepers didn't want to enter newspaper articles and copies of birth certificates and census records and draft records and other historical information. That takes a lot of time if you're going to do it individually, because you oftentimes have to download files, copy and paste, or scan information to put it in there. It makes it much easier if you do the genealogy software. There are two other genealogy softwares of somewhat size. One of them is called Find My Past, and the other is My Heritage, and I did list My Heritage.
I use My Heritage, and I have my DNA result right here.
Yeah, DNA, My Heritage will also do DNA. And that's another software program that you can use. My Heritage is great if you have ancestors in Britain. It will also search a wide range of information. It also has maybe, I think My Heritage is probably around 20 to 30 billion bits of information, which is huge, but it's not as huge as Ancestry. And then Find My Past if you need Jewish information. That's good. Find My Past is good research software for that. They probably also have around 20 billion to 30 billion bits of information in it.
And then how does family search, how does that compare?
Family Search is also a good place to go for records. It's grandma on a world scale. You can find virtually anybody who has a record and somebody's entered their information in Family Search.
I was just, oftentimes when like patrons come in and they're just interested in trying to find some of their family, I'll get them on Family Search because it's free. And oftentimes if they punch in some info about, say, their grandparent, somebody will have already basically done their family, and then they're like overjoyed,
Yeah.
because it's like, so that can be kind of a fun thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the same thing kind of happens on Ancestry, because you could share your tree publicly on.
You can
Very
carry
well.
a tree. We'll look at some. I want to run some hints a little bit to give you an idea of how it works. I want to talk about the last 3 pages in your handout. The very last one. If you do have Swiss Valenian Mennonite ancestry, the Swiss Mennonite Cultural and Historical Association is basically the place to go for information about Swiss Valenian Mennonites. And they have lots of historical information there that you can get. And please consider, if you want their newsletter, you can get that for free. The newsletter is free. They don't have a membership, but they do appreciate donations, and some type of a donation to them would be terrific. But you can get lots of information off of their website, not genealogy trees. You won't get that, but lots of historical information about cities, migrations, food, stories of family members, stories of immigrants, that kind of thing. There's lots of that. The page before it is the 150th year celebration of Mennonites coming to the United States. This is a celebration that is going on with Swiss Millennium Mennonites. However, there's lots of information if you have Mennonite background. In part of the research, lots of the Mennonites that are here came from the Ukraine area in Russia, which is being bombed. Hopefully not all of the sites. But I was doing some research on my wife's tree and located relatives and ancestors came from about 5 miles from one of the towns that was Swiss Millennium Mennonite. This is common. Lots of our ancestors, if they're Mennonite, were 20, 30 miles away from one of the other villages that was in Ukraine. We'll discuss lots of things that would be related to that. I'm also giving a travel presentation there. I went to the Montbéliard, France church that's still in existence, where lots of the ancestors came from and lots of the information that we have on Swiss Millennium Mennonites actually comes from a church book that they kept. So consider that. There's also binding and threshing wheat in June and August. I don't think they've set a date yet on that. There's a quilt show on May the 4th. There's a sculpture on June the 1st. And there's a good, this coming Sunday at the First Mennonite Church in McPherson, Matt Cotton will be giving a dissertation that he did, which basically talks about the Ukraine and Russia and the situation between the two of them. And how it came about and where it is now. So that information is on that page also. If you want to know more about the G&H project, it's also on this page, the preceding page. So let's look at some of the hints now.
Screen share going again here.
Okay.
Share screen. Share.
Okay.
Okay. You're there.
Great.
Yeah, there we go.
Great. Okay. So Albert Gearing, I looked at a little bit ahead of time, and I thought this might be a good one to do to show you how you can find research information. Click on this leaf here. There are 13, according to that little pop-up there, 13 different places where Ancestry says this may be the same Albert Gearing that's in your tree. And the first 3 of them here are family trees that are in Ancestry already. I haven't looked at these, but we can see over here, well, actually, I'll even pull this up just a little bit. This is, when we look at, I went to the web search over here from the people, we go to web search. It will automatically pull up the person, do the search for the person that is right there that we were looking at, which is Albert Arthur Gearing. On this side, you have the information that is in our family tree already. On this other side is the information, not all of it, but most of it that came out of the Dash family tree. I don't know who Dash is, but I can find out. Anyway, this is Albert A. Gearing. The birth date matches what we have over here. The date of death matches. This is probably the same individual. But look, in the tree that I have here, Mound Ridge is listed. This one just says McPherson County. So maybe he was born out on a farm, and whoever entered this in the tree here put down Mound Ridge. The death date, he died according to this in Newton. According to this one, it was probably out in the country someplace. And the burial here says Greenwood Cemetery, Newton, Harvey County, Kansas. Here it just says Newton, Harvey County, Kansas. So it's nice to list the cemetery. You'd like to know what cemetery, if it's in McPherson or Newton or Heston, or where is it? Which cemetery? So list the cemetery there also. So, okay. So family tree or ancestry, excuse me, has come up with these 13 different places where they think Albert may be mentioned. Look at newspapers.com. Is this the same Albert Gearing? Probably not. They only have a birth year here. The death year is the same. What I think probably happened is somebody thought it was the same individual and maybe gave them the same death date, because it would be extremely unusual to be born the same year and have the same death date. So I may want to rule that one out. The 1950 census is here. Social Security information is here. World War II draft cards. Those of you that are familiar with Fold 3, these are nice in my opinion. For the men between about 1900 and 1942 or something took out a draft. They had to take out a draft card. So I clicked on that draft card, and it's pulling up the information now, hopefully, that is the same information here on Albert Gearing. Arthur Gearing. It's not pulling it up. But I'm going to click on this. And here you have his draft card. Look at that information on there. Nice. Place of residence at the time that he registered, mailing address, how old he was, place of birth was Mound Ridge. Okay, we got that one satisfied, at least. Assuming Mound Ridge is, he wasn't born in the country. And he didn't put just Mound Ridge down. His telephone number he didn't list, but it looks like maybe they started here. His birth date is there. Born in Kansas. His closest relative who would know his address, he put his mother down, I believe. Or no, that was Jane was his wife. Yeah. And that's their home address. Self-employed, probably a farmer, place of employment.
Jerry,
Yeah,
sometimes on the birth location, when it's, if like it says Mount Ridge,
yeah,
that may have been their mailing address.
yes,
And they were actually born in the county and, you know, outside of the Mount Ridge, but their mailing address was Mount Ridge.
yes.
I found that on a lot of these records for their service registration.
Oh, yes, yes, very common that was done. So that's and you have his signature down here. How many other places was maybe a will and marriage certificate might have it. There are a few other places where you might get a signature, but you always get one with the draft card. Guess what's on the back of this draft card? When he registered for the draft, his height was 5 foot 10.5 inches. He was 188 pounds. Hair was gray. Oh, excuse me, eyes were gray, yes, and the hair was brown and light complexion. He didn't have any physical characteristics that were unusual. And this is the person who registered him for the draft and the date that of the registration. So I think that's pretty terrific information, actually.
Like his place of business was Railroad Loan Building.
Yeah. And why, but he put down he was self-employed.
Well, it said a room. But the man
Yeah.
said it was that room, right?
Very probable.
And this is to me, this is a fun one, even for people that aren't necessarily about to embark on a big genealogy project, just to find a grandparent or a great grandparent who served and find their draft card. Like I did it for my grandparents and my great grandfather who was in the old man's draft.
Yeah.
As a dentist, and it's just cool to see.
It's
So.
full screen here.
Full free, you can access it, or unless they've changed it through the State Library of Kansas for free. If you get the e-card, so, which we can issue one, so, yeah.
So I think down here on this information, he was listed as a businessman. Yeah, business. So this may indeed have been a business, and he may not have been a farmer, but self-employed in that business. Railroad Loan Building, he may not have been that specifically, but he may have been self-employed business. We got the information here on the draft card. And so I'm going to click here. And it will merge the information into Ancestry, into the tree that I have. Now, if you can get real quick at finding information. This only has information on Albert. It actually does his wife there, but that's nothing we don't already have. But the person from the tree is over here. This is the information that I have in the Ancestry tree, or the G&H project has in the Ancestry tree. And this is the web search information, which is the draft card information. The name is exactly the same. The birth date, we have Mound Ridge down. He said he was born in Mound Ridge, so I'm going to assume that that's correct. This also says Mound Ridge on it. It doesn't have McPherson County. I like this format for listing the place. This doesn't provide any new or different information. So rather than having as an alternate in my tree, I'm going to discard it. But the source of that information is the draft card. That source will go to my tree to verify that it was indeed Mound Ridge in McPherson County, Kansas. So I keep that source information. He did register on this date. We didn't have that information. We didn't have this other information on how he looked. So that becomes preferred information with this dot here. I could make this preferred information, but I don't want to. I like this format. And I'm going to discard that once again. So the information with the dot in it is going to be the preferred information. His residence was Newton in Harvey County, Kansas. I have that information here. This doesn't tell me anything different. And I don't really want it. It'll list it, but I don't want it. But it'll keep the source of that information because it does match this one. And he's a white individual. I probably knew that to begin with, but nevertheless. So now I have everything from the draft card that I want to put into my tree. These two things here are brand new. It's going to flip over to the other side. And I'm gonna click next on there. And it will give me a summary of the information that I now have, the new items. And this information. It'll list the source of that information. This will go directly into both Ancestry and Family Tree. It has the website where I can find that information. So this is the URL that I was talking about. So that'll be both in Ancestry and Family Tree. We have the two softwares because they do different things, but the information matches up. So I'm going to say merge. And now that information is going into Ancestry. I haven't synced the two yet, but it is going into Ancestry. And the draft card will also be there. And so now we're back to this. And let's go back to the listing of things. We've already looked at the dash family tree. We could look at we haven't looked at that yet. I started down here. I'll go back up from down here, the 1950 census. There might be information there. I don't want to take a lot of time going through stuff that might not be necessary. But you can load information from the 1950 census, which is the most recent. You can load that in Ancestry, and also it'll go to Family Tree Maker. You can see a Social Security application. Well, you can't actually see the application. You can see the information on the application. And when they claim their Social Security and their Social Security number if they've passed away. If you can see the information online, there'll be a picture of it over here. A death index for Social Security, we probably don't need to look at that. U.S. American Historical Society of Germans from Russian obituaries. His name is apparently listed in there. 1920 census, 1930 census, you can download that. Another one which I like is the U.S. Find a Grave. This is free online, and quite honestly, it's terrific information. Generally speaking, there'll be a picture of the individual or a picture of their tombstone. This one happens to be a tombstone. And we'll find out where. Oh, it's a Greenwood Cemetery. That's in is that in Newton? I believe it is. Yeah. So his birth date, place, all this information that's on the tombstone is listed there. And you can go directly to the Find a Grave with the URL that's down here. You can click on this, and there's a picture of him. Well, you can download that picture. In fact, this says there are 3 photos. Let's see what else is there. Well, this is kind of nice. There's his picture, there's the tombstone, and this says College Quartet here. I don't know if I can blow that one up on this, but apparently he was in a college quartet someplace. I'm sorry, what?
Kansas State University.
Kansas State University, okay, you can see that there, I can't.
There, watch it, Bob. Right above green.
Oh, yeah, here we go. So those could be downloaded. The information of where his grave is in Greenwood Cemetery can also be downloaded. And I usually copy and paste that. That is one thing I copy and paste into. Generally, I do it in. So I went. Okay.
Okay, I think,
Might have dropped,
oh, I think it dropped for a second and then came back, so, here, I might have to. I might have to restart.
okay,
Oh, it says it's back. Okay, great. So carry on. Oh, wait, let me restart the screen share. That's the last step.
and the meeting being recorded probably.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. And
And then
there we go.
screen share.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
we're back.
Okay, I'm a little sorry that happened. But nevertheless, Swedish heritage. Well, where's your family located? Mostly. Lindsberg,
McPherson,
McPherson County?
yes.
Well, you can use these resources also, and you'll probably find your ancestors in here. And you'll probably find people who are doing trees on your ancestry in here. One or two, sometimes. Information to another organization that is located, I believe, in Little River. Anyway, they will do research for you. And it doesn't cost very much to have that done. So that might be a good place to go to. So, okay. There's lots of information on find a grave. We didn't look at other trees. I want to look at least one tree here. As the railroad goes by. So find a grave was the top one, US obituaries. Oh, one other thing I want to mention. Well, let's look at one of the trees first of all. First, second, or third. Anybody have a favorite? Let's do the middle one. Anderson family tree. This is information that was put together on Arthur Albert Gearing, and you can see what is in Ancestry right here. Then merge. This information that is in the tree is on this side. It looks like we have the right information, at least the birth date, death date. And the parents are the same, except they've listed Gearing down here for the mother, Anna Weedle Gearing. And they have a couple of residences. So I don't know if this has provided any additional information, but you can click merge over here and you can see what we have already and what the website has. The family tree does have information on the parents though. So we could go through here and this is the information. It's just a click. This is the information that we have on Arthur Albert Gearing's father. This is the information that is in the ancestry tree on the father.
Well, look at that. The birth date is different on the father. Date of death. We say in Mound Ridge, McPherson County. We also have an obituary for him. I'm a little reluctant to merge these two, but if you can either click add to add this individual as a new person, well, we already have the person in here. So you then merge or ignore the person. And then I click next. If I wanted to merge, I click merge and next to it and they come together. Let's see about Anna Weedle. Birth date, they have two different birth dates. Generally speaking, I find that the genealogists that are in the G&H project do better research than some of these that are online. But sometimes you can find information here that we don't have, and that's what we're looking for. So we could merge this information also. Just by clicking that and clicking next, and it'll merge information again that we choose. And this is for the parents of Albert Gearing, because that information is in the tree. Well, I'm not going to merge anything on there, so I'm going to go back and say ignore, and we'll go to the summary. And merge now, there was, I think, we did a little bit of information on Arthur. So we've merged the information. Now the person in our tree will list the additional information over here that we have on Arthur. And this is in the Anderson family tree. Anybody know Craig? It's an interesting way to spell it. Anderson. If we want to know what he's doing, he has 15,941 people in his tree.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah, 55,000 records. Well, we're up to 40,000, so. He was online last week. That's real good. He's been with Ancestry since 2016. For me, it might say since 2024, because that's when I started my family plan. But I don't know, maybe they go back. If I wanted to send Craig a message, I can do it in Ancestry. I don't necessarily need his email, but I can type in a message here and send it to him. These are people that I've, on the left-hand side here, sent messages to previously, communicated with them, and some of them are now with us. That's since 2022. Yeah, so you may know some of those people. Some of them are relatives of mine. Okay, so let's go backwards. This is the information about Albert Arthur Gearing. Let's say that you know he was married again late in life, and there's nothing here that Ancestry found. Ancestry estimates that it finds only about 10% of the information that it posts on here. So there are lots of other possibilities. You can go down to the bottom of the Ancestry information and click more results, and there'll be a search engine here. You can click search. Some of this information will be the same, usually to start out here. But we didn't get any city directories previously. There may have been a Newton directory that he was in, a number of them apparently. a city and county census that he may be in, other information that he may be in.
I'm curious about because I don't have an ancestry subscription myself. Do you know if are they pretty good on the city directories? Like, do they have most of the years of them?
They have lots of them, and if you had, here are some pictures. If you had an individual who was from about 1950 on, you'd find pictures in here too, lots of pictures of those individuals. This has 50 per page, and they've got at least till page 40 here where they're saying this might actually be Arthur Albert Gearing. I did a lot of research on my great grandfather Juhnke. That's one reason I'd like to bring him up. But it took me about 3 hours of going through all of those searches to find a marriage record in the state of Illinois for his second marriage, where his last name was misspelled. His wife's last name was misspelled. But Ancestry brought up the record. They said this might be your great grandfather. So if you really, and I didn't, there was no inclination on my part to look for a marriage record in the state of Illinois. It's just something, it came up. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's kind of unusual. Here's a Juhnke without an H who's married to a Kaufman. It's not I can't remember where it was. It wasn't Francis, but you know, there are a lot of nicknames that people go to. So, wait a minute, they got married on the same date. And so, anyway. Other questions? I hope this has been of some help.
You start to search with, well, like, did I start a search with myself or with my grandparents?
It doesn't matter. Whoever you want to search.
Doesn't matter who you start with.
No, it absolutely does not. And Ancestry has a place where you can start a family tree. You can put in a few names and you can go from there. And very
We
likely,
do have that. I should mention that.
very likely, there are some records that have somebody who searched your family.
Because mine was all messed up. I don't know what I did.
There's a couple questions that have come in. Did you want to,
I can take them off.
Q&A here. Oh, okay. One is about, can I get a copy of the presentation? Yeah, I will. If you register on Zoom, I think I've got your email address, so I'll send it out to that, and then I'll email it out to the list, and I'll post it on Facebook. If you can send me the PDF, or we can we'll work on getting that. If for those of you that aren't here in person to pick up the pamphlet, work on getting you that. And then the other question was, have you tried an add-on app called Family Book Creator 2019? It's a great app that can build a family tree book using your data in minutes. So it's a recommendation from Joseph. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, but there are some I created a family tree book in 1995. That's my next project, but I'm not done with the research yet. But there are some very nice places that will create very good family trees. So that might be good information to share with everyone also. Also, one of the things I didn't mention, that I can show you up here. On the left-hand side, family search is up there. Webroots.com, the library links. You can also put all of these shortcuts to various places where you go regularly. And click on it when you're in Family Tree Maker, and it will take you to that website just as though you were in Ancestry. It'll just take you to that website. Then you can see it while you're in Family Tree. So I do use Family Search. Someone mentioned that earlier. And rootsweb.com, I think I said web roots, but rootsweb.
And one thing to mention is the database, the Swiss Volcanian database. So I guess if you're on Ancestry, you can access it that way, right?
You can access the tree
The
that
tree,
we have
yeah.
on Ancestry, yes.
But we also, you gave it to me and I got it onto I input it on Brothers Keeper, which is the same data, just on a different program. And it's on the microfilm computer station in the Newton room here.
Great,
So people can take a look at that.
yeah. Yes, and periodically I can send you one to update it
Yeah.
too, because we do merge quite a bit of information. Yes, go ahead.
There's another, tree program that I recently, that is really good and it's free. It's called wikitree.com. The only thing is, I mean, you can add your information, you have to be able to source it when you add. You can make corrections and edits, but you have to be able to also source where your corrections or your edits are coming from. But it's excellent. I have found a lot of really, really good information on there. And it's been very, very helpful to me. So that's another, and it's free.
Yes,
Anybody can join.
you can actually use your Google search engine or something and put free genealogy software and it'll pull up a dozen or so different programs too. There's a fair amount that's available and a fair amount of it is free. Also, and sometimes they've got very excellent ways to make family trees as an example, or organize information also. Find something that works for you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Appreciate it. Okay, you're welcome to email me if you have other questions. Otherwise, thank you. Appreciate your attendance.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good evening.
That's good for